Hello, welcome to the King's Road, brought to you all the way at the tip of Africa in sunny Cape Town, South Africa. It's good to be with you guys. My name is Sean, and I've got the amazing Nick Charlie Key with me. Nick, say hello to all the people listening.
Hello, all the people listening. Nice to be here. Nice to be back after a long extended hiatus. We have a lot to talk about.
We do. I was unfortunately away on travel. I had terrible internet and bad reception, so we tried many times to make it work, but it didn't happen. But I'm pretty stoked to be here. We have a lot to talk about. As you can see, the title of this episode is Chelsea Remontada. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If you're watching from Spain, I apologize if I butchered that. But basically means, I think it means comeback, if I'm not mistaken. That is the
like Renaissance almost. If you want to do the French.
Renaissance. We're going full European. And it honestly, it's been a little bit of a comeback. I think the last time we chatted, we were pretty down in the dumps because Tuchel had left our club and Potter had just taken over. And there was a bit of uncertainty about where the club was going, what was happening. Gary Neville just running his mouth about our American owners as if United don't have American owners themselves. It was just unsure. We didn't know what was happening. But Nick, tell me, what are your thoughts after 3 weeks, I think, since our last one? Like, where are we at? Are we going through a remontada or is it just riding our luck? Honeymoon period? What do you think?
Yeah, you never know. I think it's one of those things where it's like it's so hard to tell because you go, oh yeah, definitely for the first few games at least you can blame new manager bounce, but at some point you've got to go, because I was listening to, I think it was Danny Murphy, these guys online, and they kind of go, wow, well, you look at the quality of the opposition they're playing, you can't really tell anything. Like at some point, when you've gone 5 games unbeaten, we haven't conceded a goal. We've scored, I think, 12 or however many goals we've scored in that time. You got at some point you can only play what's in front of you.
Yeah. And
we're doing a good job of it. I think we were lucky against Crystal Palace with the last minute winner from Conor Gallagher. As bad as that AC Milan team potentially were, they also had a lot of guys injured. You can only play what's in front of you, and you look at that team. And you kind of you still have to say, well, we did the job against them. We didn't struggle for the win against that AC Milan team. 5-0 across 2 legs. It's a pretty convincing win. We needed that in the Champions League group turnaround from the poor start that we had. And realistically, the only bad, and I say bad in inverted commas, result under Potter was his very first game with the draw against Salzburg. That's your first game. You're coming into your first game with a new squad, your first game ever managing in the Champions League. You kind of got to give him a free pass on that one. And then since then, it's been no looking back. And I think naturally we're going to hit a downturn and we'll see how the squad reacts. We'll see how Potter reacts when we hit that downturn. But for right now, you've got to say we're on the up and up. You look at the squad, you look at the way we're performing, and I'm sure we'll get into the Aston Villa game, but you look at how we're performing, and even under duress and under not the best playing conditions, you've got to say it looks like a renaissance, looks like a comeback, a remontada, if you will.
Yeah. A remontada. It's true. It's got a bit of shades of when Tuchel arrived, if I'm not mistaken, because he had that 1-1. Was it a 1-1 draw with Wolves? It was a draw.
Yes, it was.
Wolves is his very first match, and then we went on a bit of a run with him. But
also
I fully agree with you. 100%. Like he came in, sorted that defense out. We did have our attacking issues later on. But what I love about Potter is it's actually amazing how he's transformed that team in a matter of a few weeks, which is not easy to do. Obviously, as you said, you get the manager bounce thing, which happens. And there are some players which you can talk about later, like Pulisic. I'd actually love to get into Pulisic and your thoughts on Pulisic. But we'll get there. But just quickly, your thoughts on Potter. Like it's only been a few weeks, but let's do a little review on Graham Potter. How do you think he's doing compared to Tuchel? What are your thoughts? How do you see he's changed the team? Has he done anything different?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to kind of compare them. They're such different managers. They've got such different philosophies. I think that even if their base setups look very similar, I think their philosophy and how they approach it is so different. So I'd rather look at Potter in isolation rather than try to compare him to anybody else, because I also don't think that's necessarily fair on either of the two of them. But I think coming into a squad, and Chelsea are used to bringing in managers who are used to managing at the highest level, who are used to managing elite clubs. You're bringing in the Mourinhos, the Tuchels, the Contes. Even when we're bringing Goose Hiddink in as like our interim manager. I don't know if I said Ancelotti, but you're bringing in these managers who historically are used to managing at the top level. This is the first time, maybe besides when we did the very failed experiment of Andre Villas-Boas, this was the first time we've really taken a chance on a manager who hasn't got top tier experience, and you kind of are going, well, how's he doing in that setting? And I'd have to say he's killing it. And I think a lot of it has to do with, because at this level, so much of it isn't about training guys up in terms of how, like, upskilling them. And I think that is a part of it. So much of this level, these guys are already so super talented. It's about man management, squad management, good rotation, all of that thing. And I think that he is the perfect guy to be doing that well. As we know, he obviously has that master's in emotional intelligence and management, but you can see the squad looks happier, and you having guys like Mason Mount having a bit of a remontada of his own, a bit of a resurgence in his play. He seemed to have sort of stagnated a little bit under Tuchel, and I think that more than anything is actually a bit of an indictment on Tuchel to go, when you've got a player like Mount who is supremely talented, who has shown it in and out. Every manager he's played for has loved him. When you consistently can't get the best out of him, maybe there's something deeper, that's wrong. What are your thoughts
going on? Yeah. Well, just to say, Brandon, all the way from Durban, in the chat, he said, I love how Potter's changing the squad up every game. And I 100% agree with that. I think I saw on Twitter, there was a few jokes like of putting the players out, but everyone's like, we have no idea what this formation is going to be. We have no idea. And I love that he's becoming a bit of a, what's the word? Just, you have no idea what Potter is going to put out, what he's going to do, which is great, because in that way, managers can't really counteract with any sort of plan, because they just got no clue. I mean, it can go the opposite way, where you pull a Pep and you don't put a DM into your team in a Champions League final and you lose to Chelsea Football Club, and that's okay.
Yeah. I was very okay with that.
But yeah, 100% agree. Me too, and 100%. But I agree. Potter's changing the squad up every game. It's great to see. I think he's really put some faith in Kepa, which is amazing to see. I guess Kepa got a bit lucky because of the injury at the same time, but just to see the remontada, if we're going with the theme of the week, under Kepa has been incredible. I mean, that triple save on the weekend, and that point blank save that he just tipped over the bar. Don't know how he does it. I mean, I'm trying to think of some other players. Sorry, so like your Loftus-Cheek, I'm thinking of James Mount. There's all these players, and even Silva. But I mean, Silva's like a Rolls-Royce player. He's just going to perform at top level under any manager. But I agree with you. Maybe someone like a Kai Havertz isn't performing as he should, and there's one or two others. But generally, I think Potter's taken this team and starting to turn it around. We're starting to look way more attacking. We're just opening up so many chances, finishing some chances, which has been the problem in the past. So I'm very happy. Like Potter.
I think if you're looking,
long may it continue.
If you're looking at our first sort of 6 or 7 games this season, I think we were averaging like a goal, maybe a goal a game, or roughly around that. We just weren't scoring. We were kind of scraping 1-0s or drawing 1-1. And looking at the last 5 games, or and we're going more than 2 goals a game on average, which I think is a testament to Potter turning around the big problem of the squad, which was we couldn't finish our chances. And he brought in a player like Aubameyang who was, and he himself said he can't take credit for that, but it was going to take a while for Aubameyang to settle and find his feet and get back up to match fitness. But I mean, you can see the ruthlessness in him, in just coming in the way that he takes his chances. He's a born striker. There was that one cross that came in, which was that tap in. We haven't had a player who puts himself on the goal line, ready for those types of balls, because when you're playing a player like Havertz up front, that's not his natural position, I wouldn't say, or at least it's not his best position. If he's played striker, he's always played as a second striker, and so he's not that guy who's going to be finding himself in the box right at those things in those positions. And so I think Potter has gotten lucky with Aubameyang coming into a bit of form. But equally so, I think he is getting the best out of a lot of other players. You're seeing a resurgence, like you said, in Loftus-Cheek. He's become a revelation in midfield. And I would even say, for the first few games he didn't play him, but now I think it's 2 or 3 games on the bounce. Now he's played Chalobah from the start, and he seems to be coming back into a bit of form after, last season playing I think 36 games under Tuchel, and then for some reason just completely falling out of favor with Tuchel. And no one knew why, least of all him. He didn't seem to know why either. But he's come back into the squad now, and he seems to be doing well. I don't know if you saw that crazy stat. I think it's now he's never lost a game that he's
never lost.
I think it's 28 games now.
So
I mean, it's got to be
something like that. It is. And I mean, he did get a bit lucky with Fofana injury at the same time. Honestly, I don't think he would be playing. But it's what you got to do. Like Kepa, when the opportunity arises, you take it with both hands. And I think both of those players have done that, which is great to see, because in the past, you think of some players who've come in and they just fulfill a role. I think of Marcus Alonso. I mean, I've got my issues with Marcus Alonso. But it's good to see them performing at the highest level when they get the opportunity, and I think it's just great. But I want to shift into some of the past few matches that we've played. I know last time we chatted, we were looking very down in the dumps about our Champions League qualifications getting into the round of 16, because we were bottom of the group. We were pretty much down and out, very much frightened going into those 2 Milan games, especially at the San Siro. And then maybe we can chat about the Aston Villa match too. But from your memory, what stuck out to you from those 2 Champions League matches? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it has to be set up front, and I think I said this to you pre-recording. We're looking at the AC Milan games, and it's terrifying, because you're going, reigning Italian champions, got to play them home and away to basically have any chance of qualifying for the next stages of the Champions League. And we kind of said beforehand, we need 4 out of 6 points as a base minimum, which means no losses. You got to get a win and a draw, and hopefully, obviously, get the win at home. And if you're lucky, snatch and grab a draw at the San Siro. But at the time, you're kind of going, chances of that happening are slim, especially if you look at our history in Italy, where we hadn't won any of our last 6 games. I think we lost 6 games on the bounce in Italy since 2003 or something like that. And you're going, it just isn't looking promising.
It's crazy.
But after that first game, and I mean, it has to be said, they had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of players out. To be fair, we also had you can't discount the fact that we have injuries to key players. When I think we're just so used to missing Kante that we just are. Almost like he's almost like a nice to have when he's fit, but we just can't actually count on him anymore. But the fact is, Kante is a game changer. If he's in our squad and he's playing well, he's a game changer. So sure, look, we also have injuries, maybe not to the same degree as them, but at the same time, you've got to play what's in front of you. And we did that. And when they came to Stamford Bridge, I mean, to beat them 3-0 was an incredible game. I don't think any of us could have seen that coming. I think, I say that besides Joe Cole. Joe Cole called it on one of the podcasts I was listening to. Everyone was saying, is anyone, what do we think? Is it we're going to steal a 1-0? Joe Cole's no. He said this is going to be the start of a resurgence. We're going to go on a big run. We're going to get a big
Amazing.
win. And he said we're going to win this game 3-0 or 4-0, and we're going to go on a big run from here. And everyone was like, yeah, you're dreaming, Joe. But look what's happened. I mean, he called it right. We won it 3-0, and no one else would have foreseen that, I don't think. And from then on, I think we have seemed to be solidifying our game quite a lot. I'll touch on the second game quickly, and then you can jump in on your thoughts. But you're going into the second match at the San Siro, and you never know. Was that 3-0 a fluke? Was it a lucky? Did we just catch them on an off night? But hey, now we're on their turf, and they're going to really stick it to us. Because I remember many, many years ago, in fact, it was one of the games I was telling you about that got me into watching Chelsea, was that game where we beat Barcelona 3-1. And we thought, oh, this is going to be great. And then we went to the Camp Nou, and we got dominated, I think 4-0 or something. You never know.
Yeah,
these things can happen, And so going there, you go, okay, well, we've done the business at home. Can we do it away? I do think we got a little bit lucky with that red card I think you
We
can
did.
talk a bit more to that, and we can touch on that. But you have to say,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's a penalty. It's a harsh red card. But I also think you look at the laws of the game,
Yeah.
and you got, if you want to take emotion out of it,
Yep.
He's last man, and that double jeopardy rule doesn't
Yeah.
apply because he's the last man. He's a denial of a
Yeah.
goal scoring opportunity. He gave the referee a decision to make. At that point, he's got no one else to blame but himself. And as much as opposition fans want to go, oh, it ruined the game. Yes, we also think it ruined the game. There's no Chelsea fans sitting here going like, oh, yes, we got lucky, it helped us win, but we also want to see a good game of football. We're not there going like give guys red cards for no reason. But if you are in Tomori's shoes, and you could see he was bleak after the first game. He didn't perform well against his old club. Wanted to put a showing in, prove that there was a reason we shouldn't have let him go. He said as much after the first game, and I think he went into that second game thinking, I've got to make an impact now. And I think he had almost too much adrenaline going in him at that time, and he made a stupid mistake, and he gave the referee a decision to make, and the referee made the decision. What more can you say?
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree with you on everything. I remember that first match, probably what stuck out to me the most, I think this was the match at the Bridge where James just locked up Rafael Leao. And I think he had to switch flanks because he just had no hope going down the left. So, just a phenomenal game. I was really nervous, and I think, like most Chelsea fans, we go into every match thinking that we're going to lose, right? It's just how it is. It's just the nature of our club. You win the Champions League, and the next day you lose to Watford. It's just terrible. But it was an incredible match. And I mean, credit to Joe Cole. I don't know what he saw, because it's phenomenal that he saw that. But he obviously knew something was going on in the background, and this is why I'm so stoked with Potter and what he's doing with our team. And I think we could go on a pretty long run. We seem to have like the balance of attack and defense going pretty well at the moment. Where Tuchel, you could say defense was really good, but he had obviously some attacking issues. It seems like we've got a bit of balance at the moment. So I'm just so happy that AC Milan second, that was an absolute joke in terms of the referee's performance. Like, I don't think I've seen like such a bad referee in years. Just throwing out cards, like blatant fouls just going uncalled, and the opposites, like things that weren't fouls, just getting yellows. Shame, and he had no control on that game. I'm surprised that more players didn't actually get sent off, but it's okay. I think I tweeted, I was like, this is definitely happening. And in those moments, you have those, like, I don't know if he's inexperienced or what it is, and you got all the fans like booing every decision that you make. It had the tendency to swing the other way, where the ref would want to bring balance for the harsh red card. It could have easily sent one of our players off. But again, I think, credit to our players. Like, we didn't put a Tottenham and just implode, and start like fly kicking people and getting our players sent off. Like, we were able to, in really tough circumstances, with a terrible referee, manage to see that game out and still score goals. And it was a good game. It was a good game. Unfortunate. And I agree with you that red card was harsh if you want to go letter of the law. And a few pundits have said this. It's not just us two Chelsea boys saying this, but it sadly, letter of the law, red card, obviously denying. I mean, if he wasn't there, Mount was so easily slotting it past that massive gap on the side of the goalkeeper. So clear to see. So just unfortunate for them. I feel sorry for Tomori, but I do love Tomori. I got a soft spot for him, but hey, it's okay. We are now top of the group after 3 weeks, and it's looking really, really good for us. I don't know, like, who would you want to get in a round of 16 match?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I just sorry. I just wanted to say, I also thought,
would you want to hit the PSG's bosses when you hit them now?
I honestly, I don't. Before we move on to that, I just wanted to say, in terms of Potter's management, I thought it was actually really key. It's like you said, that you had that feeling the ref might want to do some balancing of the books there with the thing, and he'd obviously given Mount that yellow already, and Mount's a player we can't afford
Yes.
to have missing. And so I think bringing him off at halftime is good for two reasons. It gives him a bit of a break, and we also saw the fruits of that now in the Villa game. He came back flying, but also just to go, look, we've kind of done the job here. We're already 1-0 up. The game isn't in the bag yet, so to take a player off like Mount at that point is still a risk. But we've got enough good players in the squad, and I think that's a key thing that we have is the squad depth to be able to make big decisions like that at important times in the match. If we're talking about who we want to get, if we're going on that line now, the assumption being that we are actually now somehow crazily going to top the group, which didn't look possible. It looked like we were going to scramble to fight for second, but results have gone our way. I am, you always get those guys who like to say, "Oh, rather get the big teams early, get them out the way." Nah, stuff it. I will happily take the easiest run to the final that we could possibly have. There was that 1 year where we almost got it. Where we would have ended up playing, I think, Monaco in the final. It was in the early to mid 2000s. You look at a run like that and you go, happily take that again. So I would rather let the big boys battle it out, knock each other out, and then pick up the scraps when we have to. But and I think the reality of it is, you get a lot more like money the further in you go into the competition. And so you can say from a sporting perspective, you want these big European nights, you want to play the Barças or the Madrids or the PSGs or whatever.
Well,
but I would happily rather take.
We won't get Barca this year.
That is honestly one of the greatest things that's coming out of this season, is watching all of those levers just fail. Especially, and I think we can also talk about how much of a potential bullet it looks like we dodged with Rafinha. So,
oh man, it's just incredible scouting by our terrible scouts. Well done. I have to actually agree with you, because, and some of my football friends will, I don't know why they say this, but they always say, "Oh, Chelsea have the easiest route to any sort of final." It's not true. We have the easiest groups. Yes, group stage, for some reason we get really nice groups.
We do.
Our knockout matches, if you look at the past, we get crazy tough games. I think of all the Barças, the PSGs, our last run, Atletico Madrid, Porto, and then playing Bayern Munich in a final, playing Man City, probably best football club. I mean, they just won best football club in the world. Could get into that because I think that was a bit undeserved. Anyway, but it's not easy. So I agree with you. Let's bring on I don't even know who's in there. Who's not very good at the moment. I don't know who I'd take. I'm not sure.
I'd take any of the French clubs. Realistically, I think PSG are underperforming. But PSG, for so long, kind of had become that like boring match every season. We seem to get drawn against PSG for like 3 out of 4 seasons we were drawn against them. And I think at some point you're like, okay, let's do something else now. But I think the big teams you want to avoid are the Bayerns, the Real Madrids, the classic big boys. I would be more than happy to pass on. And then any of the Italian teams besides maybe Napoli, because they look
besides Napoli, bro.
Yeah. So I think
any of those
sorts of things. I think I'd be happy with whoever if we could manage to maybe miss those big guys. So I don't know. Club Bruges.
There we go. See Brandon, Club Bruges. I agree. Club Bruges would be good. Would be good. Aren't they topping their group though? They topped their group. They did. Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, just qualify something along those lines. Yeah, but we'll see.
That's true.
We'll see.
Well, they're currently topping. Maybe it'll change.
There's still so much football to be played. Yes. I think that those groups are inevitably going to switch around at some point. So,
it's true. But yes, give us Club Bruges all the way. The Villa match. I want to hear your thoughts on the Villa match. For me, a bit of a typical Chelsea match in terms of first half playing absolutely terribly and then ramping it up in the second half. I don't know how we didn't concede in that first half. It was like absolutely shocking. I was at the airport watching it on my phone, and I was like, how have we not conceded? Just it looked like our defense was absolutely nowhere. And then we turned it around. Second half, Mason Mount and Kepa have to get all the accolades because I think they were just phenomenal. But give me your thoughts. Aston Villa, Slippy G, defeating Slippy G.
I think realistically, any other day, we lose that game 3-1. And I think that regardless of Mount's 2 goals, I would have given Kepa the man of the match, because more than Mount did in terms of winning that game for us, I think Kepa saved us more than Mount did. Totally. I think you look at, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, you know, keepers will pull off those sorts of saves twice in a season. You know, they'll pull off those world-class saves, and Kepa did, I think, 3 or 4 in a match. And I mean, it was unbelievable watching this player who, at, you know, a season ago was still the laughing stock of you know, Premier League goalkeepers. You kind of guys going, oh, this guy's just picking up his wage bill, but he's never going to play for you guys ever again. And I think like with everything, like with the fact that Mount and James kind of, you know, it's like those sliding doors moments, you know, when we had the transfer ban and you get these, we have to bring these kids in, and all of a sudden you've got these kids who are world class. You know, who knows what would have happened if we'd potentially signed players that had blocked their development, and you lose a player like Reece James. Reece James, in my opinion, when you know, before his injury now, walks into any club in the world. You know, who knows? And I think that Potter coming in, and at the same time Mendy having that injury and he's being forced to play Kepa, this is his moment to go, show us what you can do. The jersey is yours to lose, because realistically you're in now. And the guy has made a case for himself that no one can say he doesn't deserve to be starting for us at the moment. And until he has a clanger,
it's true.
You know, I think he deserves to be on number 1. And I feel sorry for Mendy, but this is the way that it goes. You know, it's just one of those positions where if you get there, it's very hard to shift a goalkeeper in form. And you know, I don't think I've ever seen a player have such a redemption arc, you know, from Kepa's you know, refusal to leave the pitch when Sarri was there.
Worst save percentage.
Worst save percentage ever in the league. The guy was a joke. And you look at this and you go, well, you can only give the guy credit for working hard, staying positive. He's never once thrown his toys out of the cot at being second choice when he's the most expensive goalkeeper in history. He's applied himself, and I mean, he's reaping the rewards now.
Yeah, so Kepa's an interesting one. I want to get your thoughts on it, because like, we can all see the talent is there, right? Like, he's definitely got the talent. And I mean, at one stage he pushed De Gea out of number 1 spot in Spain, right? And he was doing really well. Obviously then he went through his, whatever it was, seems to have gotten engaged, and some things turned around there. Like, well done to him. But my question is this: like, I still have my reservations about Kepa, right? As if we're looking at, and we've spoken about this in previous weeks, Todd Bowley coming in, got a vision for the club. It seems like he only wants to buy the best. He's looking long term. Kepa's still young as a goalkeeper, right? He's not like an experienced goalkeeper. He's still young. He had a lot of there was a lot of hype around him coming from Bilbao. I remember watching some of his, you know, those YouTube videos, compilations, like incredible saves this guy was pulling off. Like, he's a proper shot stopper. I think his game has developed. He was doing a lot of rushing out, you know, sweeper keeper. He's catching some of the crosses which have come in, which he didn't do in the past. So there's credit to the coaching, credit to him. Yes. I get all of it, right? But is he the guy? Is he like our Allison? Is he our Neuer? Is he our Ter Stegen? Is he our Oblak? Like, obviously time will tell, and you've got to give him time, because you can't just say yes you are or yes you're not, especially if you're inexperienced. But I still have my reservations, and I don't know. Obviously, give him time, but what do you think?
I think
Kepa long term, or do we go for a proper keeper?
I think if one of those keepers becomes available, you'd be stupid not to go for them, I think. But it's hard, because realistically, we've got now 2 world-class keepers. So who goes, you know, and then who becomes number 2? Because just let's not forget, a season ago, Mendy was in the running for best keeper in the world. You know, he was winning
It's true.
best keeper in the world. You know, I think you look at it. You look at the Brentford game. I think last season, and Mendy is pulling off world class saves. You know, he's pulling off what Kepa did against Villa.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got these two keepers that realistically are both world class, top class. I think in the long run, Mendy's more consistent. I think Kepa has the ability to have these world class moments. Who knows? And if now he's going to, you know, you always have that fear that Kepa's going to now go back. He's going to revert back to having those clangers again.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. But I think that, you know, from everything that I'm hearing in terms of Potter's style of play, he is in the mold of the Pep who wants a ball playing goalkeeper. And Mendy, as we clearly saw when he got robbed, a few matches back, he's not a ball playing goalkeeper. He doesn't have that in his arsenal. Kepa definitely does more so than Mendy, but I still don't think he's the finished product in terms of those types of keepers. But who knows? I think coming for him, this really couldn't come at a better time in terms of his World Cup chances. You know, in terms of his prospects of a resurgence and putting his name in the hat for Spain to go put him in the squad. You know, because if he continues to play like this, you'd be stupid not to take him. He may not be first choice. Who knows? But I think that, you know, you look 2 months ago, the guy's getting nowhere near that World Cup squad. 2 months' time or a month's time, even you look at if he keeps playing like this, he's put his name in the hat to book his ticket on that plane. And I don't know, you know, I think you, like you said, you can only give credit to him. But I think it's also something to consider is, you know, with I know you've also been following a lot of the backroom staff has been changing. Todd Bowley's been doing a bit of a clear out with some of the backroom staff, and I know that we've lost you know, Christoph Lollischon, who was for many years, obviously came in with Czech and was his mentor and his goalkeeping coach, and has been around the club for more than a decade. You know, he's gone. Potter's brought in, I think his name's Ben Roberts, as his goalkeeping coach. You never know what the change even in the goalkeeping coaching setup can do to, you know, if you've got Ben Roberts who Potter trusts, and Ben Roberts is going, look, as the goalkeeping coach, I think that we need to give this guy more of a shot, or I see this in him that maybe Lollischon didn't or Tuchel didn't. You never know behind the scenes what these other changes. It's not just the change in the manager, it's also the change in the backroom staff, I think, that can have a big say in which players maybe make it or not, you know?
For sure, no, and I agree with you. And interesting, you talk about the backroom staff. I was reading an article about Potter's, you know, his closest, his assistant, and all the guys that they usually bring along with them. These guys are so under the radar. If you do a little bit of research into some of his coaching staff that have come with him, like we have some seriously like underrated coaches that are actually phenomenal. So I'm very excited about the future. And when we were just talking about the AC Milan game, and you mentioned how we mentioned about Reece James, I just quickly want to touch on his injury. And we've seen quite a few injuries going into the World Cup, like quite a few players. I know recently, what's that guy who just flops around for Tottenham, the Brazilian guy? The one that everyone, Richarlison, he got injured recently. So you got all these players. I mean, sorry, I think the World Cup's come at like the worst time you could ever have a World Cup. These players getting injured just before. And just to say that, I think a lot of our players saw Reece James getting injured, and I don't think there's like that Aston Villa game, that first half. We were just slow, we were sluggish, and it just looked like the players were like, hey, I've seen our mates like push himself to the limit after all these games, and he's gotten injured just before the World Cup. I still want to get on that plane and get to the World Cup, right? I'm not going to go full out, run my heart out here and risk playing for my nation. I think there's a little bit of that going on in the background. I'm glad to see that we turned it around. But where Villa obviously don't have as many international players, I think it's a reality with some of these big clubs. You look at Liverpool, same thing, like all these injuries piling up and they're just not playing well. In the back of their mind, I'm sure they're thinking World Cup's coming up. But anyway, Reece James injured. And I know a lot of people blame Thomas Tuchel for hanging on to Aspie. And the problem now is we don't have world-class Reece James, and we're going to have to do with Aspie as a right wing back. Aspie, loving to bits, club legend in my eyes. He's not at James's level. Like, he's getting older. He's a bit past his prime. I think if you want to play him anywhere, you should put him as a right centre back so that he's not doing all the running, but he can just defend. But do you think we missed a trick there by not letting Aspie go and signing a decent backup to Reece James, and now we're a little bit stuck? What do you think?
It's a good question. I think that there was, I mean, who were we going to bring in? That's the problem. We had no cover, you know. So I don't know. I think that we had to keep Aspie out of necessity, because we're seeing now, Reece James gets injured. Who is there to cover him? Aspie, unfortunately, is the only solution. And I mean, it wasn't. I mean, what game was it? Was it the first? Was it the first AC Milan game where he was actually? Was it the AC Milan game, or was it the Premier League game before that? I can't remember. When Aspie was actually bombing down the right, he was probably our biggest attacking threat in
Premier.
Yeah, in one of the most recent games. I mean, there's still something in him. You know, you give him I think the problem is what we see with Aspie too often is that. Historically, you know, as his legs are going, he's getting played week in, week out, week in, week out. He hasn't got the energy to do a game every 3 days. But you give the guy a break and you play him maybe once every, second game or something. Actually has time to recover, and maybe he's still got it in him if you actually give him a chance to rest. Because we saw in that game, when he's on fire, the guy was as good as a Reece James in that moment. I won't say. I think that the difference is that Reece James does it consistently. But I think but Aspie did a good job in that game. So yeah, you got to say, I think we're lucky to have held on to him. I mean, potentially if there was someone, a right back or a right wing back who we could have brought in younger, like I think there was a Hakimi, if he was potentially available, but who knows? I don't think when guys aren't available, you can't just pull them out of thin air. So. If we want to go back quickly to that, to the goalkeeper debate, we had a comment from Brandon saying, "What about Gabriel Slonina coming in? What are your thoughts about that?"
I don't know much about him. I've seen all the YouTube compilations and obviously done a bit of reading. I think he is a phenomenal prospect, and that guy is sharp. If you watch some of the videos, he is like an incredibly sharp goalkeeper, incredibly confident. I mean, I can't remember how old he is, but he's very young. But for his age, he just seems like he's got it. He's got that something. You get a bit of that Thibaut Courtois feeling about him, because we obviously signed him from Genk. I think it was Genk when he was young.
It was Genk, yeah.
And you just got that similar feeling. I'm like, I like this guy. He could definitely be along than Petr Cech. Obviously seems to love the club already. Obviously he's super stoked. I think he flew over recently to do some training with the team, if I'm not mistaken. Everybody thought that we were bringing him over to play for us, but that's not true. He just came to do some training with the team. But he looks a real prospect. I don't know if you've seen much about him. What do you think? I'm very stoked with him. Good signing.
I mean, I don't think we could ever, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm this crazy football scout and I know all these stats about him. I think we all know what we've seen reported in the news. But what I also think is that there's talk about him as this major prospect, and I think that realistically, he's been starting for an MLS team at such a young age. Kind of in the mold of a Donnarumma, starting out so young and getting his name out there. I don't think he was signed to be a current first teamer. I think that he was kind of in that bracket of the, Amari Hutchinsons, even the Carney Chukwuemekas, even though Carney is kind of in the first team setup, I don't think he's a current first team, full team prospect. You've got your Cesare Casadei coming in from Italy. We're buying up a bunch of these young talents, and Casadei is not meant to be a right now first team prospect. He's a down the line prospect. Amari Hutchinson, a down the line prospect. Mason Burstow is a down the line prospect. And I think that Slonina fits into that mold. I don't think he's coming into the first team now. But what I do think, and I think the difference is that he just has so much more first team experience. So I'm also interested to see how he deals with that, coming into a setup where he's no longer the big fish. We're just talking about the fact that we already have 2 world-class keepers currently. I mean, say what you like about either of them. I think that Mendy or even Kepa would get into, I would say, 60 to 70% of the top 5 league teams, as a first choice keeper, because they are that good. And so when you've got 2 keepers that good ahead of you, I'm interested to see how they use Slonina going forward. Whether we don't re-sign Mendy, we don't re-sign Kepa. We've got a backup keeper slot that he then goes into for a couple of seasons. Will he be happy playing as a second choice keeper? I don't know. So I don't think he's an immediate solution, but I think that he's an interesting prospect for the future.
I agree, and I think that Thibaut Courtois, same thing. I mean, he got sent off to Atletico, and that's where he thrived, and we brought him back. And maybe it is that for Slonina, because I do think we're sorted for the next while. But if he could go out, I don't think he's going to get it at Chelsea. I agree with you, he's not going to get ahead of those guys. But if we could get him into a top team, maybe with these feeder clubs that we're buying, maybe there's a decent club and he just starts to fly, he could get into that team sooner than we think. But again, incredible prospect. I think Chelsea have done, as you said, with all our young guys that we're signing. We are signing some of the top players in the world that are young players coming through, and it's exciting. But with that, we've obviously seen some of the transfer rumors in the papers. I've seen quite a few rumors about Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice together coming to Chelsea. What are your thoughts on that? Would that just do it for you?
Who would say no to either of those guys? I think the thing is, we'll take both, because I realistically, I mean, for some reason, there's this constant narrative around Jorginho of like, he wants out. Oh no, he doesn't. He wants to stay at the club. Oh no, he wants his agent is fishing him around to other clubs, and he's going, no, I actually want to stay.
His agent's pretty public about that, huh?
Yeah, it's so weird. So I just don't know what's going to happen with Jorginho. I think that people also do underestimate him a lot for the what he brings to the club. And I think if we're going to look at a recent example, in the Aston Villa game when we were getting overrun, when he came on in the second half, he does have that ability to change the pace of the game, and he does have that ability to bring control and stability. However, I think if you're looking at the fact that realistically we have to start looking at a successor for Kante, because Kante, is unreliable in terms of his fitness. You can't have a player that you're going, oh, we've got our DM or our whatever sort of player, but he's only playing 30% of matches a season. That's just not realistic. And also he's on huge wages. There's talk that and I think it's stupid, but there's talk that we are going to not re-sign him. I think we should re-sign him, and I think we should utilize him for those 30% of matches, because even on those 30% of matches, the guy's a game changer. He's world class. He's phenomenal. He's a game changer. But however, he can't be our first choice.
Ask you.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
now there's the thing. Would you pay, like, I mean, he's going to demand even higher wages, so he'd be the top paid player in our club if it's a new contract. You would do that for 30% of the matches. Would you do it?
I wouldn't do it if he wanted a raise. If he and I'd be surprised. Genuinely, I would be surprised if Kante said, pay me more. I think he would be lucky to get a contract that's at the same level, because he knows that he's not performing, in terms of he's not earning his salary, in a sense, because as good as he is in 30% of matches, no one can look at that and go, well, I've done what I should do. And I mean, there was even that case of that player who was out injured for so long that he played a season for free at the club, basically to say thank you for just helping me get through this. And I don't think we should ever go down that route necessarily, but I think it would be cheeky to say he wants more. I think if you're going to keep him, and you're going to get him on the same wages, and I'd say maybe for an extra 2 years. If he's wanting 3 years, that's when it becomes a bit tricky for me, just in terms of that wage bill. If we can say 2 more years of Kante and get the best out of him for 30. And like Brandon, thank you for your question, Brandon. You bring in a Declan Rice who is going to primarily start the matches, and you've got Kante to rotate in and out with him, or even to pair with him in bigger games, because Kante brings you a lot going forward as well. I think that would be interesting. And who would say no to Jude Bellingham at the moment? I mean, he's probably one of the most exciting young midfield prospects in the world. I don't even know if you can call him a prospect anymore, because I mean, he's just performing at such a high level. He's not really a prospect. He is he's a full-blown talent. And I think he's going to have the price tag to match when they're talking about 120, 150 million. And Todd Bowley and Clearlake seem like the kind of guys who are prepared to slap that amount of cash down to get this going. And you can see, from all the rumors, they're trying to steal a march on a lot of the bigger clubs by going in early, like we've done with Christopher and Nkunku, and trying to say, let's get something done. Let's get something done now. Trying to get ahead of the guys before the big bidding war starts. So if you're gonna say Rice and Bellingham, they're the future of our midfield. The point being, when you're looking at potentially losing a Kante and a Jorginho, those are ready-made replacements for you. Especially if you're keeping Kovacic, who I think is probably the best and most consistent of our midfielders, and the only one who has that ability to break the lines like he can. No one else really, besides Loftus-Cheek when he's in full flight, no one can break the lines like Kovacic can.
100% agree. And I think that's the problem with Chelsea midfielders. We have as great, and you know that I love Kovacic. I love that man. I would have his babies, but he is injury prone too. He's really injury prone. Which is really sad to see, because I think he is one of our best midfielders. So getting players like a Rice and a Bellingham in, and sadly, I think a Kante and a Kovacic would probably stay. I'd imagine Jorginho would go if we signed those two players. They wouldn't be starting every single game. There'd be a lot of rotation, which would be good all around, I think, and it's needed with so many football games that these players are playing. But wow, what a prospect, man. Imagine Kante, Kovacic, Rice, and Bellingham in your midfield, and then you've still got Loftus-Cheek, you've got Gallagher's. That is just a world-class midfield. Do you know, I was thinking about it the other day, where does Bellingham, what's his best position? Do you know?
I think he's an 8. In my understanding, I don't watch enough of him, but in the short times I've seen him, but I think that he also potentially struggles from that curse of versatility, where he's so good across so many positions that he kind of gets utilized in a lot of different positions, kind of like a Mount would, and so he doesn't ever necessarily get to settle in a position. But I think if he does get the chance to kind of really bed down in one position, I think that an 8 would be the best for him. But don't you think it'd be interesting, say we go that way, what a crazy English core to that midfield, which you've got. If you look at it, and you could potentially be starting Rice, Bellingham, Mount, Gallagher, and Loftus-Cheek. You've got 5 of these young English players all playing for English club. I mean, it's very rare to see that in the Premier League for teams to have such strong English cores anymore.
It's true. That's so true. Yeah, you don't see it anymore. It's just a lot of international and technical players. This is the thing. All these players. You look at City; it just focuses on technical players. But when I look at a Rice, even Bellingham, he can just take some shots, man. That's what we need. Some of those big, strong midfielders like an Essien or even a McCall, who just do a different job, which I think works in the Premier League, rather than all these technical players who just want to make the fancy pass, and rather than just going for goal and just shooting. Just been the problem with Chelsea for so many years, as we know, and we've chatted about in the past. Okay, so we already chatted about the Kante debate, which I wanted to get into. I'm a bit torn on the Kante thing. If we don't renew his contract, I'd be okay with it as long as we sign. It's unfortunate that Tchouameni's gone to Real Madrid, but a player on that level, if we could find a player on that level, I'd be very happy with it. But I agree with you.
Enzo,
if we could get
Enzo Fernandez.
players like that in. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's still, I think that's the next thing, and I've seen some rumors like the next thing Chelsea's going to focus on is on midfield and a midfield rebuild. Even I'm still like, Frankie de Jong, get that guy into our team. We need a creative playmaker. I was just watching him when he came on for Barca. Like some of it, he's Fabregas-esque. Like he's like a reincarnation of Fabregas. Just knows exactly where to ping that ball, and he just nails it every time. Anyway, I just want to close off quickly with the Ballon d'Or happened last night. Obviously, Benzema won the Ballon d'Or for best male player. But something that was interesting is they did the top 3 teams in the world, and Real Madrid won the Champions League, Spanish Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup, and
La Liga.
4 trophies, right? And they came 3rd behind Liverpool, and Man City won it. What are your thoughts of that? Like, it's just good English PR? Is it just a joke?
No, it's irritating.
With Ballon d'Or?
It's irritating. It's disgusting. This like, I saw your comment on Twitter about it, and you were right. This love fest for Liverpool and Man City. It's like, I just don't get it. You can't. I mean, City, sure, they are a crazy force to be reckoned with. They did well in the league last year, and they won one of the domestic cups, whatever. But you look at you can't compare that to what Madrid did. I mean, I'm not a Madrid fanboy by any means. I don't particularly like them at all. But you got to look at the facts and go, it's ridiculous. That is pure ridiculous for them to not have won the best club in the world. And I think that, I mean, it's the same thing. It's I don't know who's voting on this or whatever, but it's like the same thing when Lewandowski wasn't winning Ballon d'Or, ahead of, like, because everyone just has the love in for Messi and Ronaldo and all these things. So at some point, it's just crazy to me, man. Like, I think that people too often they vote more with like where their allegiances lie more than actually with what the facts are telling them. So yeah, and I mean, if you want to touch on more than just that in terms of the club thing, I mean, we can even go into Sam Kerr not win. I mean, Sam Kerr coming 3rd as well in the female Ballon d'Or. I mean, that is, I mean, okay, Alexis Putellas, she's great as a player. Sure, she won it last season. There's no ways Beth Mead should have been beating Sam Kerr. I don't care what she did for England in the Women's World Cup. Like, I don't like that. That's a great achievement. It doesn't beat anything that Sam Kerr won last season, or how. I mean, she scored 20 goals in 20 games in the league. She scored another 9 goals in cup competitions. I mean, she got 16 assists or something like this. I mean, who are you looking at? And to go like, I mean, just look at the facts. Just look at the stats, man. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a bunch of PR and some dirty money going on in the back there, especially when it comes to City.
Has to be.
Definitely. And they obviously played each other on the weekend, and I was shocked. I thought City were going to run through Liverpool, but Liverpool, good job on keeping the league exciting and keeping Arsenal fans' hopes alive so that they could fall from even higher heights. That's great.
No, honestly, I'm starting to get scared, dude. If there's nothing on this earth.
Really?
I do not want Arsenal to win the league. I hate Arsenal. I do not want them to win the league.
They won't. I don't care.
I would rather have City.
There's no way.
I'd rather have City score 10 goals every game, win every single game of the entire league season, set as many records as you want to. I don't care, as long as it's not Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal fans
I agree.
Go on about the Invincibles of like 2003. You're like, that was 20 years ago. Like, you guys suck now. You've sucked for 20 years. You can't just keep hanging on to that. So you give them another thing to shout about for another 20 years. No, not in my books.
They still go on about that Martinelli goal where Kante slipped and he scored to draw against Chelsea, not even win. They still go on as if it was the best goal in history. I think it was voted as one of their best goals in history on some poll. I'm like, are you? No, I agree with you. But I don't think they'll do it. Like, there's some serious games coming up thick and fast. I'll be surprised if they do it. I kind of hope they drop out of top 4 altogether. It'll just be
me too.
To see. But
I mean, me too. I think, just to go on again about how delusional Arsenal fans are. I saw one of their fan casts talking about who would you most, I can't even say this. Who would you most, if Ashley Cole was playing today, who would he most be like? And they genuinely said Kieran Tierney. Yeah, I mean, get stuffed. Ashley Cole's the best, probably one of the best left backs in history. And you want to say that he's only on the same level as Kieran Tierney? I mean, it is delusional.
Well, Carlos, yeah. They are. And if you're listening, we'll tell you to your face, guys, you are delusional.
Yeah, come find us.
I've got so many Arsenal friends.
We're in Cape Town.
But at the same time, sorry, they've this is the thing with Arsenal. They've played. I mean, what are we, like 11 games in? I feel like they've played 2 really good teams in that time. One of them being who did they beat recently? Where they went crazy. It was Liverpool United. One of them. And it was almost it was the right time to play that team when they weren't doing well.
Yes.
So I'm like,
I think it was Liverpool.
I cannot wait for Chelsea Arsenal. Chelsea Arsenal is just going to be great. And this is the thing, Nick. If they beat us, then I'll start to get a little bit worried. And I'll be very sad, and we'll both be sad. But I think we'll put them in their place, which would be great. And this might come back to us and it'll look really bad.
Favorite thing,
I'm very sure
my favorite thing on earth would be is if we somehow managed to sign Bukayo Saka from them. Oh my gosh.
That'd be great.
I would even
good.
He's phenomenal. I would start him. I would start him almost any day of the week for us, even. But it would be so funny if he just joins our team and sits on the bench, and just to stop Arsenal having him.
I mean, we signed Amari Hutchinson from under their noses, so that's just great. That is good. But Arsenal fans, we if you are listening, we do love you still, but you are delusional.
If you are listening, I'd be surprised. Why are you listening to a Chelsea podcast 57 minutes in?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just to get a taste of what it's like to talk about winners for a change. Maybe that's why you're here. So
it's true. Want some trophies. Awesome, man. Nick, it's been good to chat. Love doing this.
Good catch up, man.
But any last thoughts before we go?
No, I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. I think we're on a good run of form. Let's see. I think Aston Villa was a bit of a wake up call without Reece James, to see how we're going to fix that right back thing. Because I think you can see Potter gambled on playing Sterling as the right wing back, and you can see he realized very quickly it didn't work. Made the changes that were necessary at halftime. And bolstered the defense. Brought on Aspi and Koulibaly. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how the team adjusts, because I think that we often forget how much solidity Reece James actually brings to that back line, and how much creativity he brings going forward. So he's going to be a big miss. And I think that potentially, in terms of his recovery and getting back up to match fitness, if he doesn't make it back in time for the World Cup, I actually think that time is going to be a blessing in disguise for him to get back to match fitness for the second half of the season. So we'll see how it goes. And hopefully he won't be in that period. If it wasn't World Cup, I fear that he might have been rushed back. So obviously the hope is that he'll still go to the World Cup just for for himself. I mean, these opportunities don't come around many times in a player's career, and he's nailed on. I would say almost, if he was fit, he's nailed on as a starting right back for England. So it's sad to see. But going forward, I think we're going to have to see how we deal with the tests coming up. Inevitably, we're going to hit a bit of a slump, and we're going to see what happens with the players, what happens with Potter. But I think for right now, all you can do is just say well done to the team, well done to Potter for adjusting so well, and keep winning, keep the blue flag flying high, as they say.
And that's it. I think the next time we chat, we would have played Brentford, and I want to say United. I'm not too sure. I think it's next 2 games. I might be off there, but
it depends.
It'll be good to chat. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for just giving us shout outs in the comments. If you are listening to this podcast, please subscribe on YouTube. Join us on Twitter. love to hang out with you guys and just hear your thoughts. We don't just want it to be us talking at you, but we want to get this community growing and you guys talking with us. So thanks for joining in.
Yeah,
that is all from
Brandon,
us.
Killian,
Nick, we'll see you next
great
week.
Jumping in
Yeah,
there as
thanks,
well.
Brandon.
See you next week, dude. Have a good one.
Cool. You too. Cheers, guys.
Bye.